More legislative measures are being put forth that would put classified UFO-related records in the government's possession. According to the New York Times, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is backing legislation that would create a commission with broad authority to declassify documents about unidentified aerial phenomenon and other extraterrestrial matters.
Schumer is expected to introduce an amendment to the annual defense bill, and so far lawmakers on both sides of the aisle appear poised to support measures of this kind. Here to discuss the growing interest in Congress about uncovering what could be hovering in our skies is Mark von Reinenkampf, opinion contributor for The Hill. Welcome, Mark.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me.
All right, Mark, so where's the alien, man? I'm sorry, Jess, we got to let him pull out the alien.
Yes.
You want to pull out an alien right now? Ooh, I wish I could. I wish I could, but sure, Michael, I'm going to have to punt to Congress for that.
Go ahead, Jess.
Right. Yeah. It seems that a lot of folks have put the alien question in the camp of it's a matter of national security. And I'm in the camp of it's a matter of human curiosity and human interest. It exceeds just one nation's borders. So this seems like a step in the right direction. What do you make of these recent moves by Congress?
They're extraordinary, and to answer your question, Jessica, I think they can be both. They can be matters of human curiosity and national security. But I want to maybe step back from the aliens and the little green men and make maybe 2 points. What we're seeing now is remarkable bipartisanship. Again, we can separate all the talk of UFOs and aliens. We are seeing extraordinary bipartisanship on a topic. I don't know if you guys can think of another topic that has pulled together the various strains of American politics, from Make America Great Republicans to more moderate Republicans like Rubio, and then Democrats like Senator Schumer, Senator Gillibrand, Harry Reid before he passed away. So remarkable bipartisanship. And then secondly, I just want to quickly comment on the extraordinary nature of the language that we've seen in this legislation, both the pending right now and last year and the previous years. I'm of the opinion that Congress will not put language about potential reverse engineering of UFOs into federal law without some good basis and some solid grounding to include such extraordinary language.
I mean, Mark, what do you make of some of the whistleblower testimony reports that we've seen? We've covered this here. A former Air Force pilot saying that there is something out there. We've seen some reports of individuals who worked for a secret organization within the Pentagon that have argued we actually do have these aliens and we do have these spacecraft. I mean, is there any legitimacy to what we're hearing? Because a lot of people are following this stuff and are starting to think, well, wait a minute here, is the government keeping something from us?
That's $1 million question, Michael. I got to say, I think everything needs to be taken with a grain of salt and skeptically. But when you start putting together all of the data points and you take an analytic perspective, things get really interesting. Because yes, and I've talked to some of those former Navy pilots who observe via radar or visually objects off the U.S. East Coast on a daily basis. Senator Rubio said this pretty clearly. I don't see how you go from a squadron commander or a wing commander to just suddenly making stuff up about extraordinary events. To the whistleblowers and the others who have spoken, again, their claims are extraordinary. But when you start listening to what the legislators and the lawmakers who have actually either spoken with these individuals or been briefed on what they've said, they all say, and I just saw this yesterday, Mike Gallagher, a very, broadly respected Republican, said, these claims should be taken seriously. And not just because of the credibility of the individuals that are making the claims, but also because in Grush's case, the key whistleblower, he's represented by a former inspector general of the intelligence community. That is, he was an Obama-appointed, Senate-confirmed, high-profile lawyer. So these are not, these are not individuals that would back up extraordinary claims if there were not something to them.
What do you make of this commission coming out of Congress to have the authority to declassify these documents? Because I can see a world where someone doesn't believe that they have the knowledge necessary to fully understand the security concerns, especially understanding that a lot of UAPs could just be, spacecraft that's human in form. It could be, spacecraft that's non-alien run. It could be, maybe Russia or China, as we've reported on here, recreating some of the alien spacecraft that they have grounded in their airspace. It sounds like the whistleblowers are saying we have just over a dozen having landed in the United States or in the position of the U.S. military. So what does this mean, really, having Congress holding the keys to what information is made public?
Great question, Jessica. And I hate to disappoint you, but I have not read the actual language of this legislation yet. But from my understanding, from folks that I've spoken with who have the kind of some inside baseball on this, it is remarkably comprehensive. It's detailed. So I'm going to punt a little bit. I'd like to see what the actual legislation says, but to the best of my understanding, it's modeled on a 1992 law to kind of bring forward all of the records associated with the JFK assassination, which is it's a landmark piece of federal legislation. So I think it's extraordinary. It's a remarkable step to see Senator Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, get involved. So I'm going to punt a little bit, but I'm curious to see what that language actually looks like.
Merrick, let me ask you this question. Republican Congressman Tim Burchett out of Tennessee recently stated he had an opportunity to look at the classified UFO footage, and he said it's real and there is definitely something out there. Are we prepared for whatever this thing is or these things are? I mean, how serious are our lawmakers taking this? How serious is the military apparatus taking this?
I think lawmakers are remarkably serious, and we can see that in the language that we've seen over the last couple of years. The bipartisan language has been, again, extraordinary. We're talking about multiple dozens of pages of federal law devoted to this. So I think lawmakers are extremely serious. I think elements of the government are kicking and screaming, and they're resisting this. I don't know if maybe that's nefarious. I worked in the government, and the vast majority of people that I worked with were good folks that have the best interests of the country and national security at heart. And there's certainly, I know there are individuals in the government that are curious about this topic. So it's a mixed bag on how the government is treating this. It's not a monolithic institution, but I can tell you with certainty that Congress is dead serious about understanding this and getting to the bottom of whatever this is.
With these whistleblowers in both the military and intelligence community speaking out about UFOs or UAPs, you've done a lot of reporting on what they have said. What do you think the response from the public is generally like? Are people ready to know about potential extraterrestrials interacting with people on Earth or even visiting Earth?
So that is the $1 million question, and to be honest, I don't think I'm qualified to answer that question. I can talk to pilots, I can report on what Congress is saying. I think that's a deeper philosophical question that I guess I'll answer it this way. Let's see how the next few weeks go in terms of hearings. Let's see what the congressional language that Senator Schumer, when he releases it, when it comes out, let's see where this all goes, and maybe we could have that discussion in a month or two, in a year from now. Let's let the process play out. And it's a great question. I'm not trying to shy away from it, but I'd like to learn a little more before going into that direction.
So, Merrick, for people who are interested in this, when can we expect the next hearing?
Yeah, to the best of my understanding, I saw a report yesterday that we're looking at the last week of July for the House Oversight Committee to have a hearing, and I understand there are going to be about a half dozen witnesses who will testify. I don't know who they are. I suspect there will be some folks that we may have seen on News Nation and on various reports. But I don't know that for a fact. So again, last week in July, House Oversight Committee, and that'll be managed by Congressman Burchett and Congresswoman Luna.
Let me ask you this really quickly, Merrick, before we let you go. On a scale of 1 to 10, for people who are watching this, because I have to ask you this question, do they exist or don't they?
Who's they?
Well, I guess more rising after this.